right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Two Fat Guys Talking Flowers, where we're always going to bring you the good, the bad, the ugly about flowers. I'm Joel with my co-hosts, Ryan and Mimi, Mike in Jeff Fresh North Country, and our esteemed guest is none other than Caroline Marshall Foster from Purple Spotted Media.
Excellent. You got it. We got you there.
Yay!
Every time it's a little better.
Yeah.
Great job, Joelle.
Little by little.
So, real quick, Dad, can you run down? Joelle missed a few accolades on her intro.
Just a few.
Well, aside from being my Facebook friend, Caroline is an author. She has a blog. She has a magazine. She has attended almost every industry event on every continent. I mean, I'm going to let her tell you. I'm not the one to tell you. She's got a list. All the way from the UK. She was just in Miami a couple weeks ago. And I looked at a post that you made today on the Facebook that we both picked the same winners at the SAF Outstanding Varieties Competition.
We were. Hello, welcome.
So
Thank you.
Welcome, Caroline.
You guys are in sync.
In sync. That's right.
Am I allowed to talk now?
Yes, of course.
Okay, I just want to say, firstly, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm absolutely thrilled. And I did do some research because I thought, one should be a little bit prepared. And I watched your vid of the SAF Outstanding Varieties. We didn't choose the one same flower. We chose loads of the same flower.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, if you go over to my Florist Magazine page, you'll see I did a video of those gorgeous anemones from Rosa Prima.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Levante bleu. It's not blue. It's bleu.
Bleu. Well, bleu. Which is actually blue, because if it's French blue, it would be BLEU, which would be bleu.
But they spelled it BLU.
Yeah, I think that's possibly for branding purposes or something.
Oh.
They blew it.
Okay.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. Yeah, so I did. I got terribly excited, and you liked the same Santini that I did. You liked the anemone I liked. You liked the roses I liked. It was sort of like, blimey, let me just run Michael's bit, and I won't bother with
Mike, you can be a guest editor for the magazine.
Absolutely.
She knows she can count on me anytime. I'm in for whatever.
Well, I do think that perhaps our history, I mean, yes, I am considerably older than you, but I loved looking at your bio, and I think you and I were hustling pretty much the same time, and we both started in market. So, because I was brought up on the London flower market.
We finally met in person for the first time at Alexandra Farms open house / breakfast / seminar / introduction of new varieties in Bogota 3 or 4 years ago was the first time.
No,
we
last
met in
year. It was
person.
last year, no?
No, last year.
It was
it last year?
Yeah, because I was with you.
Wow.
And we
Last
were
October.
and we
Yeah.
were starstruck. But
That's how it
not
feels.
just because we met Caroline. Caroline was wow, and then all of a sudden next to her was David Austin. So
Yeah, and
Had you not met David Austin?
No, I've met senior and junior a couple times, but we met the marketing people behind David Austin, and they invited Celine to come and visit them at their place in the UK. So that's a trip that we're going to make
soon.
in the near future. I'm very excited that they invited Celine.
They also asked for Mimi, too, apparently.
Oh, okay. Celine, Mimi, and I'm
No, they
crashing.
didn't.
So the
No, they
three of us.
didn't. No,
Shh.
And you must come and see me as well,
of course.
Yeah.
so that I can host you at something.
Absolutely.
Obviously, in my very lush garden, you suddenly become terribly tiny.
Caroline's beautiful background on her Zoom is, we say it looks like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, right, Ryan?
Yes, she looks like she's in the grass.
She's in the grass, but it's nice and green.
Is where she's at. She's in the garden.
Nice and
Well,
dewy.
And it hides a multitude of sins of my messy desk.
That's the fun.
So, Caroline, let's go let's go back in time and tell us about your history in the flower business.
Oh my Lord.
How'd you get that going?
Okay, well, it actually goes back to my grandfather. My grandfather was a landscape gardener, and he was actually the illegitimate son of the laird. My great grandmother had obviously been very friendly with the lord of the manor, and as a result, my grandfather appeared. And so he was born on the land and loved the land, and he came down to London to find his fortune and opened the very first garden centre, or one of the very first garden centres in the United Kingdom, which is actually still trading. Not obviously with my grandfather, but is still trading. And my ma wanted to be a tree surgeon. And in those days, and we're talking back in the 40s, they weren't ladies. Young ladies didn't do things like tree surgeons' jobs and working the land. So she was sent to Constance Spry to do a floristry course. And she became a florist. And she opened a shop. And then she opened another shop. And then she had children and realised that it was actually quite tough running a shop when you've got two very small children. She used to go to Covent Garden Market whilst deeply pregnant and do the buying, and then have to sort of fall over asleep in the afternoon because it was so knackering. And so she decided that, running two shops was quite hard. And she started writing for this thing called the Florist and Landscape Gardener, which was a magazine that had been founded in 1949 and was the first trade magazine for florists. And she started doing freelance writing for them. And, in the first editions in 1949, we did have Constance Spry as one of our contributors. And it got to the point where Ma was doing quite a lot of work. And one day her proofs of her article didn't arrive from the printers. And she rang them up and she said, "But I haven't had my proofs." And they said, "Oh, Mr. Price being the owner, is very ill, so nothing's happening." So she went over to see Mr. Price. She'd never met him in her life. They'd only ever spoken on the telephone. And she said, was there anything she could do? And he sort of said, "Well, could you buy the magazine and keep it going? Because, it seems a shame to lose it." And he died, not because my ma had gone to visit him, but just because he was naturally at the end of his life. And so my ma thought, and thanks to my father, who, bless him, really was the sort of strength behind all of this, he stumped up the money to buy it, and Mummy suddenly became owner of Florist Magazine. Wow. And that was in 1966.
What do you think it cost to buy it then?
Yeah.
55 shillings.
55 shillings for the whole thing.
How much is a shilling compared to $1 now?
Oh, blimey, you'd have to do some
1 second.
I'll Google it.
Mimi
will Google it. We'll know in 3 seconds.
Yeah, you can work. Somebody will work it out. So you've got to go from shillings to decimalisation, and then from 1966. So it's 75 years since the magazine started this year, and it's
congratulations.
55 years since my family bought, or my mum bought it. Anyway, it arrived. This magazine arrived in cardboard boxes and more cardboard boxes. And I mean, Mummy didn't have a clue. She didn't know what the heck she was doing. And she suddenly became a publisher. And as I say, thanks to my dad who underwrote the whole thing.
So if my math serves me correctly, and this is Google and my iPhone calculator, but she purchased it for about $371.25 US dollars, because it's 5 pence to then convert is equal to 6.75 US dollars. So yeah, it's $371 for that. Wow.
It's not bad. I mean, considering it's sort of, publishing is not an easy game, never has been. and certainly not in the florist industry. Well,
Yeah.
not in the UK florist industry. But oh my gosh, it has absolutely gave us so many opportunities and created a life. Anyway, so long story short, at that time I was still very young and I had absolutely no desire to go into being in the magazine or anything to do with the flower industry. I'd seen how hard it was. I'd seen how long and the hours that my ma was working, blah, 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 blah. And I actually got a job to be a nanny in New York. And so I rang my ma and I said, Ma, I've got the job. Will you look after my dog? Because I had a dog. And she said, no. Why don't you come and work for me and you can look after your own dog? And there was a bit of an expletive between your own dog. And so I joined the magazine, having vowed I was never going to do this. And I've been doing it ever since.
When you joined on the magazine, what did you start doing?
Oh, well, in theory, I was supposed to be selling advertising because I had been working for a radio station in London selling airtime. And I was very good at it. I could sell snowshoe Eskimos. So I was brought in theory, to be advertising executive. But I was just useless at it because every time somebody said no, I took this as a personal affront.
Yeah.
This was my mum. You're saying no to my family. How could you? So I thought, well, I better justify my salary somehow. And I started writing. And not because I was trained or anything. I just thought, I've got to justify my salary.
Sure.
So I started writing. And I started talking about products and things and people. And people liked it, and advertisers said, that was really nice of you to write about us. We better take an advert because we've had response and stuff. So that's how I got into it. And that's really where I am best happy, communicating messages. I love doing that. I love bringing information and sharing what I find in my travels, wherever my travels might be.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
75 years.
So
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. It's been an interesting journey, and it's brought me into contact with a lot of amazing people, but from the point at which it's grown to the point at which it's sold. And I feel very privileged that I have been able to see the industry in a way that not many people do. They're either in their growing box or their wholesaling box or their retailing box, whereas I've been lucky enough to see it every single step of the way. Mm-hmm. And see the love that goes into every, when I was in Colombia in October, and I went up to Medellin to see the growers up there, and there was a young lad who was working in the fields on his flowers, and he was only maybe 18 or 19, and he loved his flower, his patch that he was working on, as much as the breeder I'd met in June, who had spent 12 years developing the bulb. And, he stood there, he was having his photograph taken, and he was standing there like a proud father.
Yeah.
I made this. That's my baby.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but you must see this. You must see this, Mike, as well, because you travel all the sort of layers from your growing side through to dealing with retailers.
Yeah, I don't get enough of it. It's something that it just develops in your DNA, and it's something you must do, especially now because travel now is a lot different. It's a lot more difficult. There's a lot more delays, cancellations, weather-related issues. Planes are completely full or over full. So traveling is a harder job now than it used to be. And you're still like compelled to do it. In fact, I'm probably traveling every 2 weeks now, somewhere doing something. Even if it's just going back to Miami and back to New York, back and forth. It's just a lot of traveling. But I think it's very meaningful in our business.
Do you feel like because social media and you guys are sharing this travel, it means more to you? Like you're sharing it not just to because I'm sure but you guys both have been traveling to all these growing regions before, but like I'm sure now, like you have, like, do you feel like it's your duty to share it?
Yes, and in some ways that makes it slightly less fun because you're so busy thinking, oh my God, I've got to take a picture. Oh, I must post that I'm here. And it's I find social media both wonderful and loathsome simultaneously. That, if you're not posting every single day, you feel, oh my gosh, I've not done it. What's going to happen to my algorithms and things?
Right.
Not that I know what an algorithm is, but in the days when I started with social media, which was 2001 or something, it was quite easy, and it's quite funny looking back at my first post. I didn't even know how to upload a photograph. I would just put copy. Now there's this sort of, you've got your phone, I must put that up, and if you don't post it instantly, does it still have the same resonance as it would 2 weeks later? And given I come from a publishing background where you would spend 6 weeks putting a magazine to bed, and so your stories were weeks old, sometimes months, sometimes, and nobody seemed to mind. And people were just quite.
And it wasn't just the magazine, like your magazine. So when I was at Chrysler, we used to have these international meetings, and I'll never forget it because it was the height of the print. So like for me, for my profession, and I think it was 2011, we had an international meeting, and we go to Holland, and everybody had to bring their marketing proof. So like you had to bring your magazines that you've been printing in and all that. And I'm sitting next to my dear friend Anne Brickleback from the UK, and she comes up with this beautiful magazine that's filled with like designs and colors, and it's just so well put. And I come out and I had like cut out, I had just like ripped a sheet because I carried a little backpack whenever I would travel, so I had a little that, and I had like a pen that I made and something else, and it did not compare to your magazine. It was just like gorgeous. Like I couldn't even, like, I was like, can I keep this? Can I take this home? She's like, yeah, sure. I'm sure I have it in my pile at home, but it's a gorgeous magazine. Like yours was filled with designs.
It was. And I mean, I absolutely adored publishing. I think that there is something incredibly beautiful about print. As a publisher, to pick up your first, your magazine and you stroke it. And for readers, we used to get so much feedback of people, who would take it. And yes, there were people who had it in the loo. But there were also people that would read it in bed, who would read it in the bath. It's sort of like, oh my gosh, that, and there are people who still have copies.
Yeah.
We did our last print issue in 2017. But I have readers who've got copies going back donkey's years. I mean, I've got every copy, and
that's fun.
I look at it and I do think. Well, I think what's slightly sad is that some of the articles could be reprinted and nobody would notice.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, that'd be interesting to see the aging of things like that.
Yeah,
if it all still works, still the same. A lot of it's the same information.
Well, I published a story from Constance Spry from our very first edition, and so 1949, and Constance Spry, who is revered around the world as this amazing florist that's completely changed the face of design, etc. And I swear to God, it's had thousands of people read it, and B, what she said back then is as applicable now. And the same with the very first editorial, which was all about how florists needed to promote themselves more and to make customers want to buy flowers. And you're thinking, yeah, is that short?
Mm-hmm.
Where have I heard that before? And it's exactly the same. We are, has anything changed? Or, which is slightly sad, but also could make my future posting so much easier. I'll just keep posting. 1949.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
That'd be fun.
yeah,
people would be into that.
Yeah, I think so. I would love to see those. And now speaking about florists promoting themselves and how it's applicable today, you have come up with a great idea. You want to share that? Or can you share it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I presume you are referring to National Florist Day.
I am.
Oh, great intro. Yes, I had this one. I have a project called Good. I have a brand called Good Florist Guide, which is a sort of group of above average florists, and we had a council meeting, and somebody randomly said, we need a day for florists. Mm-hmm. There you go, Carrie. You put that on your list. So I dutifully put it on my list because I'm very well behaved in council meetings. And I looked at it and thought, do you know what? That does actually seem like a cool idea. And I, first of all, I put it out as an idea back in, 2020. What year are we now? 24. So 2023, January 2023, I called a sort of industry-wide meeting and said, right, guys, had this idea. Here's the website. This is what I'd like to do, an awareness day for the flower industry to celebrate all that is wonderful about flowers, florists, floristry, the whole sector. And it was a pretty lackluster response at the time. So I sort of thought, okay, fine. And I put it on the back burner. And it was 2023. I spent literally on the road. I was doing, poor Michael is not getting a word in edgeways. Is this how you like your... So, I'm just banging off. Anyway, so I went on the... thank you. Just as well, but you can edit if it gets too boring. Anyway, so I went on the road, and as I say, I literally started in Holland at the Breeders, where I met this very proud gentleman and his bulbs, and his paternal look at these bulbs. And I ended up in Holland in November, having been all around the UK. I went to Flora in Bogota, Colombia. And I came back from Holland and I just thought, you know what? We do deserve a day. Our industry is so awesome. And you'll have to forgive me if I get emotional, because I do get emotional about this industry. Our industry is amazing. And every single person in it does amazing things. And we need to celebrate this. So I went back and I came back, so middle of November 23, and I rang the 3 companies that had agreed to put money in. And I said, if I decide to do this and basically underwrite it, would you still stump up some cash? And bless them, they said yes. And am I allowed to name check? Should I name check?
Yes.
So that was Interflora UK, Oasis UK, and Director Florist, which is the UK-based wire service. And they put 15 grand in the kitty. And I said, right, I will match that and put my time in. And we raised a little bit more, not much more. And we just went for it. And I think I sort of set the date and I had my list of what I thought was going to be involved, because I'd never actually run an awareness day before.
Sure.
And also there's not many manuals that tell you how to do it in a way that I wanted to do it. And we went live in January 23. It was a very rapid turnaround. I found this amazing freelance lady who quite randomly lived around the corner from me. And she didn't know one end of the flower from another, and she didn't know the sector. And then she brought in one of her friends. So I had two part-timers and me. And I thought we were going to get about 300 florists taking part. Well, when we got to 1,054, in the space of about 4 weeks, I sort of realized that we were really doing something quite unique, because everybody loved the idea. Here I was, National Florist Day was the perfect excuse for everyone to shout loud and proud about whatever they did in the industry without it being a sales message. This
Right.
wasn't, you know, this was telling, not selling. This was telling the story of our industry in a way that was completely allowed, that there was this umbrella, National Florist Day. I'm going to tell you a story. And we gave them, we created this toolkit, we created assets.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Like, so what did the florists have to do? How did they like celebrate it for themselves? What was on there? Like, how was the florist ends? What did they have to do?
Okay, so what we did is every florist registered and they filled out a questionnaire on what they hoped to get out of it. And we gave them a toolkit which basically had all the tools they needed to create a PR campaign in their area, because that's what we were aiming to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't consumer directed promotion from some central office. This was about making every florist, every participant, a PR agency in their own right, that they could use the guides and the information and the ideas and the copy
Mm-hmm.
and the assets and the visuals, everything. We gave them everything.
Perfect.
To create the story in their area. So it was think global, act local. And they were connecting with their customers, both current, future, and past, because as the SAF man said, you've got your sleepers, keepers, and leapers.
Right.
So
right.
we were trying to give them every possible mechanism we could to say, here I am, this is what I do. So prompts ranged from how I became a florist, my sustainability story, why flowers are good for you, why my business is called. So it was all soft messaging that made it more personable and became very interactive. And then we gave them 14 different ideas on how they could PR and market themselves, which was everything from decorating a local statue or place of significance, obviously with permission, to hosting in-store demonstrations, having hands-on workshops, putting their workbench outside the shop if it wasn't raining, and actually doing a dem outside. It wasn't about giving away flowers, because we didn't want it to be that. We wanted to showcase the skills and what it took to be a florist.
It's almost the opposite. And it's like, buy flowers this day from me.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I'm not
Totally.
giving you away my service. You need to give me money for my service today.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And 19% of our respondents reported an uplift in sales on the day.
Fantastic.
And, when I look at my proof of concept report, the stats are phenomenal. That, the increased engagement levels that we got for florists was huge. For suppliers as well, because it was about bringing the industry together. Remember, I wanted to represent, I wanted to talk about the growers, the suppliers, the wholesalers, the florists, the people in their shops, the delivery drivers. It was about the love for every single person in the industry, because if without every single person, there is no industry.
Right.
We can't do it without each other. Growers need florists, but florists need growers. We all need drivers, whether they're delivering the product in quantity or just the beautiful bouquet at the end of it. So it was all about that. So yes, National Florist Day was a bit of a passion project. It went remarkably well in the UK. And when I got the first stats back, I thought, oh, I wonder if this could work in America.
How far did your reach go in the UK? Like, how far were you? Was it pretty contained, or was it pretty widespread as far as when you started out in the UK?
How do you mean in terms of coverage around the country?
Right, exactly.
Oh yes, no, literally from Land's End, which is the bottom of England, up to John O'Groats, which is the top, left and right. We had florists in Ireland because we include Ireland within our readership and our engagements. We did have we had about 40 overseas people register thinking that they could take it. And we did immediately, it went live. We got approaches from companies in the US, could they be part of it? And I had to decline because, to be honest, we weren't geared up for international connectivity. We didn't feel, and I say we are talking me and two part-time
It's you
girls.
and your neighbor.
It's sort of like, my poor husband, I don't think he ate properly for 5 months.
Oh.
So did it make the international jump at this point now?
I think
are we
it
making
did.
the jump? Crossing the pond?
I was very kindly, so I spoke to Kate Penn, who I've known for donkey's years. And I said, Kate, I really think this could work in the States.
Okay.
Donkey's years.
I like
ages.
No, I like it. I want all the British lingo. Between you and Alex from last week, I want to learn all the good
Okay.
terms.
It's when I say things like blige or blimey.
That's perfect.
So I spoke to Kate and I said, I really think that this could run. And I also needed to come to SAF because I needed a dose of American positiveness and vibrance, because your market is very different to the UK.
Yeah.
And
how is it different?
I think what I love about America is that you are so ballsy and you go for it. And I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. I know not all Americans are like that, and there will be people who will sit in their shops and moan. But overall, I think there is a much more willingness to get out there and market and sell and just be positive. Now, maybe that's because I'm lucky enough to mix in the rarefied confines of, by definition, any event you go to is going to be the movers and shakers because they're the ones that can afford it. And actually, bringing that back to NFD, what I loved about National Florist Day was the fact that I engaged and allowed even the tiniest florist to be involved. That there was no barrier to entry because we weren't charging florists. And it didn't matter how big or small your business was, you could be part of the movement.
Yeah, that's how
you
it should
could be a flower magician, because we called flower magicians. And I was really anxious because I think it must be very hard. And I know even I will look at Facebook and Instagram and sort of think, oh, I'm not as good as that, or I can't do that, or oh my gosh, I don't have those budgets, or I'll never do a gig like that. And yet every single florist who delivers a bouquet or makes a funeral tribute has made somebody feel better, or has achieved and made that magic. And I was really, and still am, at my heart, but I want everybody to feel that they are important and that they have a place in this industry, and that it isn't just the big boys that make this industry, because it isn't. If you statistically, I would suspect that the majority of the business is actually done by a level and layer of florists who never see the light of day, who are never acknowledged as being heroes. And yet every single delivery that is made every single day is a heroic job, especially in a sector that is so challenged. You know, I looked at the SAF figures, and only 25% were 24 or 25% were recording any sort of uplift. The rest were either flatline or 45%, was it, were down. You know, that's pretty scary. That's pretty scary.
Especially after this summer.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think this summer's been one of the hardest. I mean, there was a report on from the Dutch auctions that they'd never known it so quiet.
Yeah, so we definitely need days like this. What? When is NFD? When is National Florist Day?
Well, in theory, National Florist Day 2025 is June 7th.
June 7th. Yeah, that's pretty close. That might be close timing with.
Well, your Mother's Day is
in May 10th, around May 10th to the 14th.
The talk is, I mean, so going back to did it go well that in America, I was lucky enough, Kate very kindly allowed me to present to the 3 councils of SAF, and it was a rapturous reception. There were very, very few. The only negatives we had were concern about the date being close to Mother's Day, but we are not rigid in the date. It doesn't have to be the same day. And indeed, Australia, who a company in Australia has asked if they can host it over there, and they would want to do it in March because of their season. So we do have scope on movement. We don't have to. I think what we're trying to promote is the concept and then get the agreement on when it should happen.
What was your presentation like, Caroline, to the 3 councils?
How do you mean? What was
your presentation like? They gave you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you.
Officially I had 15 to 20 minutes, and I managed to say it all in 11 minutes and 33 seconds with my typical PowerPoint, which had moving parts in it, including a video of one of our magicians who has the most amazing social media girl. She comes from Ukraine. She came over as a result of the war, took a job in Wales. And I think Lisa would be happy to agree that Port Talbot in Wales is not the flattest area in the world. It's facing some huge economical challenges as Tata closed down the steelworks. And as they are responsible for employing 2,000 people in the region, that's a bit of a challenge to any service industry outlet. But anyway, Yana came over from Ukraine and is the most amazing social media. And she did this video, and I said to Lisa, could I use it in my presentation? So
did you know we had a floral magician, a real one?
Really?
Yeah, Ben Cohen, the rabbi magician.
He would do tricks at all of the trade shows that they would go to. It was really cool.
He was a close-up magician that my dad hired for our early trade shows whenever we were in the East Coast.
Wow.
And he worked with us so often that he eventually started using flowers in his magic. So then he would do a quick close-up magic trick right in your face with some flowers, and then he would actually start wheeling and dealing the flowers. He listened to us talk about them, and then he started working them into his magic tricks. So he was kind of a flower magician.
The way you talk about him, is he no more?
Well, we haven't used him officially for. We haven't hired him in a while.
Maybe we bring him back for a fresh pass.
He was in town one day. And he came and he did a little mini performance for our warehouse guys in our cooler.
He's actually, as the years go by, he gets better and better, and he's just booked up a lot.
Yeah,
he does a lot of events. He does.
There hasn't been many events in New York.
No,
we haven't had many trade shows in New York recently.
No.
Yeah, but he does events.
Mm-hmm.
He does different events, and he does a lot of things within the Orthodox community also.
Uh-huh. Well, if we can find a partner to take on NFD in the States, maybe we need to wheel him out for next year.
Bring him out, for sure.
I love that you call them floral magicians. I think we should ask our floral magician listeners for their date suggestions.
Well, I do like the summer act because it's like after the major holidays in the sense that like, again, this is about the florist. So like maybe it's a slow period for you. You can like do a little shout out to yourself, pat your back for what you did during Mother's Day.
I got Caroline at the Next Gen happy hour and I tried to convince her to do my birthday June 29th. And then they said, oh, that's a little too close. The people around us were like, that's a little too close to the 4th of July. We can still get sales on 4th of July. So I got no June 29th, but maybe Ryan's birthday.
July 19th?
Yeah. That should be.
It's a good
good one.
July is where U.S. flower sales in general. Flower sales, doesn't matter if it's in a supermarket or in a flower shop or in some guy in the corner. July is historically where we sell the least. And
this is why we went for June, because June, it was traditionally the UK's lowest time. And we wanted to, and it also tied in with British Flowers Week quite by chance. So we were trying to find a date that was far enough away from our peaks, because January, February, March for us, because our Mother's Day is in March. So we are completely skewed. We didn't want May because that was Chelsea, and we wanted to be sort of away from Chelsea. And June, and it was a decision greatly led by the wire services, because obviously they track orders more than I will, and they felt that early June would work. And certainly in the meeting or the meetings, I had brilliant response to a June date from growers and wholesalers. The June 7th option might be a bit too close to your Mother's Day, because
it's prime time wedding season as well.
For some places, yeah.
But again, no, I mean, reality is, it's like anything. You will never find a date that works for everybody. Yeah. There are some people who don't like Christmas being in December.
Yeah. I think though the way to go is that fit everybody in and make it an international thing, because I feel like especially nowadays we just are such as global as it could be is the better way to it's united, a united front. We've got global flowers coming in everywhere, so it's really a celebration of how global our flower industry is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I've registered every single URL go. I've got International Florist Day, I've got International Florist Week, I've got National,
I like Week.
I've got .co.uk, I've got .coms, I've got AU, I've got IE, I've got CA, I've got American Florist Day. I mean, you name it, and I have tried to cover off everything.
That's amazing.
But I need partners. There's no way I could do this on my own. So, if Jack Bash is offering, hey, I'm in.
Who's like your ideal partners? What kind of partners would be perfect scenario for you?
I mean, in some ways, I almost think that it shouldn't be owned by anyone, myself included. I think it should be a foundation with a board of people who see this as, like Mimi says, an international global activity, because, it is to celebrate us all. So I guess my ideal would be that, I get enough strong players, and I'll be blunt, Jet Fresh, you are on my list. And we have a board of people who can see past commercial competition.
Mhm.
That this is not about competitive, I put more in the pot than you did, because whether it's 100,000 or 100, it doesn't matter, because this is for the collective good. Because the more confident we all are and the more awareness we create, the more flowers we'll sell. It's like if a supermarket came to me and said, Carrie, I want to be part of this, I couldn't in my heart of hearts say no, because for my growers, those supermarkets represent a hugely important part of their business. Without supermarkets, a lot of growers would not exist.
Right.
Now, you might question whether they should have planted quite as much after COVID as they seemingly have. Was there too great an optimism about the way sales were going to go following the COVID uplift? But, they are part of this. And as long as a person does a good job, and they don't leave tacky flowers dead and dying in a bucket, which doesn't look good to the consumer, then everybody has a part to play in this sector.
Yeah.
I don't know do you guys supply retail supermarkets?
No supermarkets.
No, we stopped doing that about 6 or 7 years ago. And we'll probably live an extra 10 years because of it. The stress is quite high. However, there are opportunities and things that come up in business that might be might have to have us change our mind a little bit on that, but the reality is, unless you have something super niche or super exclusive, there's really no room for a middleman anymore when it comes to dealing with the mass markets. There really isn't much room. It's either you're super relationship based, or you just have something so special that they need to buy it from you. But for the most part, at least in the U.S., from what I see, it's either you're very local and you're very regional and you can outserve anyone else, or you're a grower with a direct relationship with those supermarkets. There's really not much room for a middleman unless you are providing that supermarket with a specific kind of service that they can only get from someone regional or in their area.
And supermarkets are hard to deal with. I mean, they are aggressive beyond belief on pricing.
Well, that wasn't always how it was. It used to be able to build a relationship. Well, I haven't been in the game for a while, but I spent about 30 plus years doing it, and I did it pretty intensely, both regionally and from Miami. And the regional guys have a leg up because they can be there tomorrow, or maybe even today, versus, a truck that's 3, 4, 5 days away. So regional wholesalers, they all have specific supermarkets that they cater to, whether it's just to fill their wedding orders or whether it's to bring last minute flowers, whatever. But the nuts and bolts, the meat and potatoes, I think for the most part are coming directly from large growers or grower groups that have the cost of the flowers is even incidental to they have the best freight rates, they have the best transportation, they have the best facilities to handle those flowers efficiently and quickly and cost effectively. So
the cost control is incredible. Like the contracts that are going in, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, but now a supermarket buyer, man, I mean, they'll squeeze every penny they can out of you, even if you're a big boy. They want those margins. And the buyers, they want to shine so they can go up the ladder from flowers to, maybe someday they're buying deli meats or something that even has a bigger return to the supermarket than the flowers. The flowers is probably in the top 3.
What's the Sorry. What's the highest thing in the grocery store buying chain? What's the best thing to buy?
The meats,
Meat
seafood.
is the number one. The deli, I think it's deli, bakery, meats, and flowers. I think that's when it comes to margin.
And flowers are the
Like,
lowest, yeah.
Yeah, all the flowers are, if
Half the time, the produce
depending
guy,
on the deal that they have is net.
And half the time,
50%.
half the time it's really they give it to the produce guy, or they don't even have so depending on the size of the supermarket. I mean, they'll have a buyer, or they have like people just on the side.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the dollars aren't as big, but the margin is substantial. I mean, you look at a company like Publix in Florida, like half of their trailers on the road have pictures of flowers on them.
Yes, they are big on flowers.
Not a cow, not a dozen eggs, not a loaf of bread. They have flowers on the side of their trucks. And I guess that's how supermarkets are around the country.
Yeah, well, if I saw a cow, I wouldn't eat meat then. I'd be like, oh, he's so cute.
Yeah. But nothing can match. Nothing can match that personalized, hand-delivered, artistic creation made by a professional florist. Doesn't matter how much you spent. If you spent $19.99 or $119.99 in a florist, it's still going to be done in a professional way, and it's going to be delivered with somebody, hopefully with a smile on their face, and wishing you a happy birthday, a happy anniversary, whatever the occasion might be. Nothing can top that. Nothing can top that. I mean, it's a big difference of having a florist send their van to a recipient and watch that delivery happen. Is the reaction's way different than when the FedEx guy pulls up, with a box of flowers. I mean, the action or coming home with flowers from the supermarket for yourself is probably pretty cool, but coming home for someone's occasion with having a UPC sticker on it,
takes away a little bit of the love. Yeah,
takes a little. Yeah, it's like you.
Well, it does, especially if it's a woman, because she probably knows if it was on special offer. Or...
Yeah, she knows that you're a cheap motherfucker. She knows that you're. She knows.
I don't know.
Michael, I'm totally with you. When I say if a supermarket came to me, I could hardly say no. My first love, as the daughter of a florist, Olds.
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
There's some great deals in the flowers in the supermarkets for flowers, but that's for that self-care. Yeah. That's for that self-care made easy formula. I wouldn't go and buy a bouquet for my anniversary from the supermarket.
I should
unless it was something super special and super spectacular. I mean, there are some supermarkets out there that have full service florists that are that's a whole different animal. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about shopping at Walmart, buying my Cheerios, and then grabbing some flowers to bring home for a gift. No, I would for self-care. I would if I liked it. A plant of flowers, the supermarket, absolutely. It's for self, but the whole gift part of it, for me, makes it kind of cheap. Like when you call a florist, sometimes you want to send flowers, and one of the questions they ask is, how much do you want to spend? And like, I've heard in a couple of different seminars that's really not the right way to ask.
Nope.
But like anything less than $50 for me is like, I'm being cheap. And I know that $50 from a florist, I'm not going to get that much.
I don't think I wonder what the average price people are like comfortable paying.
$100. $100 has to be.
Who are you buying for? Your wife or your mom or your friend?
The average order value in the UK through the wires is running at circa £48. So we're talking $55. And I do think, sorry to interrupt, but I do think that certainly in the UK, we have a very different, so our supermarkets, we do not have full service florist shops in supermarkets.
At all?
Morrison's tried, have failed miserably, closed most of them.
What about florists going into supermarkets and having a kiosk operation or having their own people in there? Because we have that too here.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that option. There
I know
are,
farms in Ethiopia that are only in business to cater to like these monster supermarket chains in the UK.
yeah, I mean, we have the highest percentage of supermarket sales of flowers in the UK are the highest in the world. And it is one of the most competitive sectors there is, with them screwing down the price by fractions of a penny, or demanding more, or more in the bunch, or whatever. Our supermarket business is very aggressive.
Is Marks and
And
Spencer is Marks and Spencer still the biggest one?
yes, well, depends on what price point
Right.
you're talking. Sainsbury's is usually considered one of the better
yeah.
ones because it's middle market, mass. Although interestingly, Bloom and Wild went in there when they started thinking about it, or started a supermarket link up, and they actually chose Sainsbury's, which I was surprised at, given that they were in theory a premium boxed offering. But then Bloom and Wild are a big. So Bloom and Wild was the original letterbox company. Flowers that you stick in a box and you put through your letterbox.
Oh.
I'm sort of gesticulating and trying to do a sort of shiver.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this guy, Aaron, he invented this little thin, tiny box, and he squishes the flowers in them, and they're called letterbox flowers. And apparently he went around London measuring letterboxes. And so he devised this box, and he launched letterbox flowers. And he expanded into doing the ubiquitous hand-tied in a 80-centimetre box, delivered like you were talking, Michael, about the FedEx deliveries. But having gone from being the blue-eyed boy and raising £120 million of financing, they've lost 100 million on their last account. So it's slightly fallen out of favour. And I went round Armalini and saw all the boxed offerings that you seem to have in the States. And some of them were awful.
Oh, there's like 100 or something different sizes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's so many.
But they were horrible.
Yeah.
Why do people... I don't understand why people buy them when for the same price.
Because it's a gift that you get from somebody, Caroline, and 90% of the people that are getting a gift from somebody are so appreciative that they're getting a gift that they don't say what you sent me was a piece of shit. They don't say it. They say, "Oh, thank you for the beautiful flowers.
That's hard. Yeah.
They're lovely." And when they hang up the phone, they say, "That cheap bastard." But they're very nice and polite, and most people don't complain. And there are some flowers in a box that are absolutely amazing and beautiful and come fresh and come really nice. There are some really good companies out there, but there are some bad ones too. And the bad ones give the good ones a bad rap.
Yeah.
But it all goes down really to the pack house that you're using, because talking to Alex, he tried doing a range and actually pulled it because it wasn't to his level of quality.
Yeah.
Look, there are wonderful companies out there doing wonderful things, and there's some shitty companies doing some shitty things. But these florists that you're talking about, this National Florist, International Florist Day, is for those hardworking people that work pretty much 7 days a week, maybe even 8, and this time of year are scraping by and are dipping into their pockets just to make
payroll and rent.
Right, because they're not making enough sales. And flowers are trading at the same prices today, basically, that they did 30 years ago. Meanwhile, everything that you need to own a flower company has gone up 100 times in price. But the flowers, all the trickling down all the way to the growers, it gets more and more difficult in the real world. During 2 years of COVID, we were in this fantasy land.
Oh,
We're in
kids.
this land of make believe where the money was just falling from the sky, and people that were on the bubble suddenly were back in business and they were doing great. And then there are those that, like you mentioned earlier, that, took some of their money and they say, wow, should I pay taxes with this money I made, or should I invest it into more greenhouses and grow more flowers? Or should I irresponsibly just grow more flowers because I have this fantasy that this shit is going to continue forever? Right? So they have they're all those equations, but there's nothing in a box. There's just nothing that's going to come out of a box. There's nothing that's going to come out of a supermarket that's going to equal
So how good? So all
what
right.
somebody can buy from a professional retail florist and get that white glove service there's just something about it. There's just something about it. Even if it wasn't flowers, even if you're delivering a box of chocolates, there's just something different about it. There's something about that personal touch, that professional vehicle that pulls up. The FedEx guy just came here right now and brought me a box of flowers that I asked to be sent from Miami to me. And the first thing I'm going to do is open it up and see if it didn't get screwed up, and if it didn't get cooked or something didn't happen. I'm hopeful that it didn't. Most times it doesn't happen, but there is those times where it does. And I can't call FedEx and say, hey, my flowers don't look good,
No.
But if it's a florist, a professional florist, and you call them and say, hey, my roses only live 3 days, let me tell you, that florist is going to bring you another order that day. They're going to replace it that day because they're not going to mess up their reputation. They're not going to mess up that customer for any cost. So, they deserve a day. They deserve a holiday. I think I think they deserve a week,
Yeah.
not a day.
Do a week.
I think they deserve a week, not a day. And
So, Billy, are you heading this up? Are you taking this up?
One day for
I mean,
florist,
my
one day
US
for the
office-
warehouse guys,
Yeah,
one day for the
exactly.
drivers.
At
Yes.
One
Jeff
day for the
Fresh, we'll do that.
bookkeepers.
We'll make a week in June where everybody can come and celebrate and tip everybody from the marketing team
Yeah.
to the
Yeah,
to
exactly.
the warehouse.
Can we have a
guys.
marketing team day?
No, I think you have no. You can't. Sorry, no. But what you do is as part of National Florist Day, you as a supplier, Oasis, they got so engaged with this. They went round the country. They put all their reps out and made them go and visit florist shops, hundreds of them, with this selfie frame. And it was such fun for them to be able to go in and
they get
just
behind
talk
stuff.
to people.
That's one thing I notice about them. They get behind good ideas. They get behind projects. They get behind
They are very
marketing.
supportive. Yeah,
Yeah,
they are
good
very
company.
supportive. And they have already pledged their support again for 2025. And it is going to happen. It is going to happen. I just think it needs to I've got to see how the reaction is from SAF, from, you are going to get a nice letter from me.
No,
Will you
I
be
think
part
I
of
think
this?
it's great that you're going out there and trying to get everybody involved because, like you said, we all are connected, and we would not be in business if it was not for every single person from the grower to the florist. It's all connected, and we all need to appreciate each other.
I think so, but it's how to reach the people who aren't at conventions or symposiums.
That's the hard part. That's the hard part. Yeah.
You have loads of events, far more proportionately. I was trying to do sort of fag packet calculations. So we have one event in the UK, and we have, if you take into account, so we've got nearly 5,000 or just nudging over 5,000 bricks and mortar shops. And we have about 3,000 studio and event florists. So about 8,000 people who are trying to make a living out of flowers and plants. And according to the SAF figures, you've got just over 12,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's 11,000 something. That's so sad.
I
So
don't
I
think
hate
that's,
listening to
I
those
never,
numbers.
I think that that's not really realistic. 'Cause I feel like there's so many people who are unaccounted for that they are
Yeah.
working in flowers. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
social media
There's
florists.
florists that's that. I think that's just brick and mortar.
Yeah, that's
florists.
brick and
It's
mortar
not-
florists. But even then, Mike, it's
That's
still
not
the
the
number's never
freelance.
been.
That's not the garage.
That's just people who are like
People work at a
publicly
garage.
record as a florist company or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Or members of SAF, maybe even.
No, they're not members. No, there's just those are people who those are not the members of SAF. But still, like it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I used
Dave
to
would be
try.
very pleased if they
Yeah.
were all members.
I feel like I feel like there's a growth in the independent florists, in the people that are getting into floristry that are just starting out in the past few years. They don't have brick and mortar, but they're in business and they spend good money and they're doing good work. Going back to your social media, talking about social media, it's like I like watching those people. I like watching them. I get it. I'm like, okay, there's another new person that's going up. The Alex that we just had in there. He's a young guy. He doesn't have a storefront, but he's doing big things in flower business.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you think he's the first florist ever to reach 1 million on TikTok.
Yeah.
He's got a huge following on Insta. He does it in a totally different way. I mean, I'm quite sure that he probably gets all sorts of horrible trolls and things because he is quite radical. But I sort of think, I mean, I have an old crow, which is not a bad thing because old crows are full of wisdom and advice and knowledge. So you have to appreciate our oldies. But I love looking at the young people and what they're doing and how they're doing it. I only ever get worried if they underprice. And I do think a lot of home-based florists don't understand pricing
100%.
properly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but some of them do. Some of them are actually out there
Yeah.
advocating, stick up for yourself.
Yeah, but
And
the leap,
this is
Mike, the
some of
leap
them.
when they start and then how they get to what they
Yeah.
really should be charging. I mean, that's just the truth. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Those are the people preaching that are people who learn the lesson the hard way.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to people.
And they're writing
think-
books.
Yes. Sorry, you can all see my face.
Anybody
But
can write a book.
The
on it.
listeners won't see the slightly sort of raised. Oh my god, I rolled at that.
Yeah, but you're from the printing world, so you know how it is. I think the idea of a book coming out and having all that, we're going right back. It's all cyclical. We're coming right back.
Yeah, they got
People
songs.
want-
You
yeah.
can put profile songs on your Instagram
That's
now.
MySpace.
Yeah.
Yeah, like everything comes back. You know, I'll never forget that. I thought I had found something very popular, and it was violets. And my mom goes, "That you've had violets in the '70s. Come on." It was always, like it's always comes back, and
The African violet was one of the most popular potted plants.
It was. And Tony Clements, the Reverend Tony Clements, used to be a breeder of African violets, and he invented bread. He bred some of the most popular varieties now, and he was a reverend. And I remember meeting him because my mother used to lug me around because she bought it. I was still at school. Bought the magazine. I used to go to all sorts of exciting places as a child and be traipsed around growers and go to meetings at posh London hotels. And it was marvellous meeting all these people. But granny chic is very much in vogue.
I'm very granny chic. I love it.
You don't want what your mother had. You want what your granny had.
Yes, that's
And
so
it's the
true.
same. And in England, it's like the hand tied. Note to any American listeners, please don't do hand tied as the automatic design of choice. It will ruin your business. I hate hand ties. I think
Cascade
they
bouquets are
have-
back. Cascade bouquets are back.
Yep, love it.
That was
Love
so
it.
old. That was so old school. Now they're back. So I love
But
everything
we-
coming back.
But we also need to bring the old styles back because it shows off it shows off floristry skills.
Yeah.
If
Old
all you
tradition.
do-
Old style with the old skills. So you're gonna bring it back, but bring it back right. Like bring it back with the right technique and the right skills, because you can't just bring back a cascade bouquet and just put it all together and think it's going to look beautiful. It's not.
You can't fake that.
No, you can't. I mean, I don't think so.
So maybe should I start bringing in the Cascade Calla bunches like I used to?
I'm all about callas, especially after the blooms and birdies with the Esmeralda. Those callas, I brought them home and I just threw them out yesterday.
Yeah,
they looked gorgeous. They were so beautiful. It looked like a Frida Kahlo painting.
I love Calla. I mean, I don't have a favorite flower, but
no, you need to. Yes, we're going to have to ask. What? That's perfect. So.
Are we right about that time, Joelle? Are we right on time? Where are we at on time? Just about there? Okay.
But we need to bring you back to Miami. I know Alex was your tour guide, but we need to bring you back to Miami.
I think I mean, unfortunately, I managed. We went on the. This is Alex Campbell, in case anyone's wondering what Alex I'm talking about. Who very kindly offered to be my tour guide whilst we were going around Miami. We went on an open-top bus, and I got something in my eye, and I wasn't wearing my dark glasses. I mean, I was like a blind old woman towards the end of it. So I have to say that I didn't see an awful lot of Miami, and what I did see was through one eye as I was sort of squinting.
You were like a pirate.
That might be the best way to see it.
According to Mike, that's probably the best way. He's not crazy about Miami, but...
It's I wanted to see all the Art Deco buildings.
Well, that's kind of fun because Alex has been here for a little bit, so it's fun to.
He's also discovering things.
Yeah, it's fun to see. Yeah. I would love to see his tour. His tour, you know.
That'd be fun.
Well, I think it was literally, in my case, the blind leading the blind, because he had done the job. It was sort of like,
did he take you to Cheesecake Factory or Hooters?
Hooters. He took her to Hooters. He said.
No, we just stayed on this bus as I sort of blindly, and then we got off at the beach, we did go for a swim.
Oh, that's
because
nice.
I thought I am not going to fly all this way and not go for a swim.
You got to do it.
And it was quite 13 years earlier. I'd actually been on Newport Beach, the other side, celebrating the end of my road tour down that way. So I sort of thought this is quite appropriate. I think that I'm fascinated by Michael's concepts of florists and their importance. We didn't really explore that properly.
Yeah.
Because
do you have a specific question you want to ask him?
Well, no, I just wondered whether it was in the UK, we have a lot of home workers or people who start from home. And as a supplier, it's very difficult. So we've got a lot of shop closures. And so you lose the shop business and you get 5 home workers or studio or garage people setting up. As a supplier, does that not make it hard for you that you've got to serve 5 people to get the same revenue streams?
So when I was a kid, my very first job after graduating from sweeping the floors was making deliveries. And I drove the van or the truck for years. And at that time, there was some flowers in supermarkets, but it wasn't so big. You know, maybe they had some daffodils or tulips or marguerite daisies. They had something, but they didn't have a full department like they do now. And when you have that experience of delivering to a retail flower company, because small, medium, large is all different sizes. Even you had florists that were operating within a funeral home, or you had florists that were operating out of a catering hall, a place where they have parties and events. You deliver these people, the very first thing that you learn is how hard do they work, how many days a week do they work, and how they're on their feet all damn day. And you're delivering on the holidays, and it sucks for you to work on the holiday, and they're working on the holiday. And as the wholesaler supplying to the retailer, you're going home, your job is done, but now they're just beginning. And they spend the whole holiday working. And so I've always had a really strong respect. As a bouquet maker, a guy used to supply supermarkets. I mean, I went to the complete other side. And so I know it from that side too. but there's no denying that that the freelance florists, the up and coming florists, the young people that are discovering floristry, or they're making their own statement, they're making their own style, they're building their own brand. The social media is great for them. It's great for them, but they will grow, and they will grow into something bigger.
I think they still need older people. They should. I do find it. I don't like it when they diss old school or old florists, because I sort of think, well, actually, Sunshine,
Yeah.
we had the industry when it was its best.
Well,
Funny
later
Sunshine.
when we ask you the questions, they're going to ask you what is the most underrated flower, and you're probably going to say carnation, because that's what most people say is carnation, and carnation is an old school flower that everyone believes is underrated. And I've never seen so many carnations on the market like we do now. So many new varieties, so many. It's incredible what they're coming out with in carnations.
But are they selling?
Yeah, but it's the most affordable flower. It's one of the most longer lasting flowers. It has one of the most amazing fragrance of flowers.
Hey,
But-
I'm a carnation queen. I am. You
Yeah.
know, give me my very, very, very first, my favorite flower, if you're going to ask me, is probably Hypnosis, which is a carnation that I first saw in Colombia, and I just love.
That's a Nobio.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the Nobios. Yeah.
And
There's so many cool ones, man. The list is endless. There's so many cool ones. But what I'm saying is, like, a lot of these younger florists don't really appreciate things like carnations. They're looking for more texture. They're looking for more crazy shit, more stuff that.
But that's
you know,
mad.
Yeah.
That's mad, because a carnation can perfectly do that. I mean, by the time you take in your frillies, your buys, your fluffies, never mind just your plains, standards, whatever, carnations are just, I mean, I'm doing a presentation for Columbia at the moment, and I'm actually using as one of my feature shots a floral object, which is basically a round piece of oasis covered in carnations. So this flob is nothing but carnations, and yet the textures and the colours that just run through it.
Yeah.
And yet the unit cost is, well, I mean, some carnations, I don't know what it's doing over in the States, but in the US, we've been having carnations go out at 90 pence,
Wow.
Yeah.
which is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's over $1.
Yeah.
What are your
Well-
carnations going
Well,
out?
in a retail flower shop, you mean?
No, wholesale.
Wholesale? No, I would say wholesale is probably 40, 50 cents.
No, we were running. There were. I mean, Lizzie Anthus is running at £2 a stem, so that's
Wow.
nearly $3. Our flower prices over here are horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
So to finish my answer to your question is,
Sorry.
I do believe in these new up and coming florists and the ones that don't have brick and mortar, so much so that when me and Ryan were designing our new space that we're moving into, there will be, I think, 1,500 square feet of space, temperature controlled space that we're going to provide to these customers when they need more space that they can't do it in their garage or whatever.
Here-
We're going to provide that space to our customers.
And I don't want to diss anybody, and I'm not going to say this. And I think that what you said, dissing in general, whether it's old or young, it's just not cool. But my problem with this is I've seen Mike care and this business where he says, as long as you understand our policies and how this works, he wants you to grow. He wants these people who have not established themselves. And then I see them grow and they don't remember where they started. And that's what bothers me. That bothers me, because when you're selling those big boxes and you're be able to buy that big stuff, not you're graduated from the bunches and you're ready for the boxes, remember where you got your stuff. Remember who gave you that quality stuff from the very beginning. And that's what bothers me. That is the only thing that makes me feel like Mike should only be selling to so-and-so. But, that's because it personally hurts me that people forget where they started.
Got it riled up. I like it.
Oof. I'm not crying. I'm just pissed.
Amen. Pass
I
me
was
the
going to say
basket.
loyalty is an old fashioned.
Pass her the basket.
Nobody remembers,
Put a
right, where
dollar
they
in
first
there.
started. They'll remember when they're asked. Long time ago, I started this way. But do you remember who you bought from? Do you remember that person who said, "You know what? I'm going to let you buy flowers at that wholesale price, even though you're not, ready for it."
I'll give you your shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a thing called human, and people where they get in their business and then all of a sudden they have bills to pay and they have a store to pay for and rent and electric and insurance and whatever. And if some guy down the road is that much cheaper on something,
And
it's
Mike,
hard. It's hard.
Our listeners
It's hard
don't
to be
know,
loyal.
and our listeners nor clients know how much Mike fought for that, to be able to have our cash and carry, because he wants to make sure that if you do have those 4 or 5 boxes and I saw you fight with the realtors, and then that to me really meant something, Mike, because you care about the way they grow in their business, because not because of how it grows for you, it's the artistry for you. And I know that. And it's just like, I saw that he fought to be able to have this retail space, not to sell to everybody outside, but to sell to the florist who says, I just want to try to make an arrangement, or, before I can get this big deal happening or whatever. So I feel like, yeah, if you're gonna, I don't mind you shopping around, but it's just like, remember who.
No, it's not a retail space. It's a space that they can use to do their work.
Right.
If they don't have enough space of their own to do their work. If they have a bigger job than normal. We're not selling retail to anybody.
Not retail, but you know what I'm saying.
No.
No, but you are supporting and helping the next generation, and that is very, very. It is both very laudable, and it is also very rare. And I can see why people have such respect for you. I mean, I just know you from having seen you and being friends on Facebook, and you always strike me as being a really good egg. There you go, Ryan, another English phrase. So being a good egg is, you are. But I love the fact that Mimi is defending you and saying, look, guys.
I hate when people take advantage of the good egg.
Yeah.
Yes.
If that's just normal business, we have this very rare when you have relationships like I have with Rafi Gross or Fred Ariyama or people that, just that we are just like or a one unit and we have a mutual understanding. But it's very rare to have, someone remain loyal to you forever. It's very rare, very rare. Do you guys remember there was that huge event in Miami where we were sending truckloads of product down there and it was top secret and like we had to sign all this NDAs and our truck driver had to be inspected before he went in and went out and nobody knew who the party was for or whatever.
Yes.
Well, and then I was in Holland at the show last November and I ran into Caroline. We started talking. I said, we have this Chinaman. And she goes, oh yeah, I know about that one. You know who it was? She knew everything. That's where we got
knew the name, and I've completely forgotten who it was now. But I knew who it was. I didn't know who it was.
Well,
So
we know J-Lo performed.
So nobody knew in Miami, but all the way over there in Amsterdam, Caroline had all the dirt of what's going on.
She knows everything that's going around all around the world, the flower world.
Full of secrets.
I'm not sure about that, but I have to say I am very blessed, and I am delighted that I had a chance to talk to you guys. And I really hope. I mean, I know you said that this was to be all about National Florist Day, and I am terribly sort of circumspect, being terribly British about it. Yeah, I want to make it international.
We're gonna make it happen.
Well, let's make it.
We're doing it.
And I think it would be brilliant because the feedback, and I will end on one statistic. 84% of those who took part in National Florist Day felt prouder and more confident
they were seen
of themselves and their businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what National Florist Day can do to a florist, and ergo make them more confident to go out and do better, then that can only help everybody. So that's why I'd like it to work, because I've seen the impact. I've seen what it's done here. I love that feeling of optimism to spread throughout, because I think it's hugely important.
Well, let's do the questions before Caroline leaves us.
Okay, before we let you go, we're going to ask you rapid fire questions. Give us your gut response.
Oh, God.
Okay, what is the best sandwich?
Oh, egg mayo with egg mayo and a layer of cheese and onion crisps on top.
Ooh, nice. What is your favorite flower at the moment?
Can I say what's my most unfavorite flower?
Yes.
I hate tropicals. I don't like.
As a whole, all of them? Not even.
Strelitzia regina, really not a fan. Quite like anthuriums. Can just about cope with a hanging heliconia because it's architecturally interesting, but no.
I was going to say, what about the fuzzy heliconia?
Architecturally interesting. I love that.
Yes.
Architecturally.
What is the most underrated flower?
Go ahead. Say
daffodils and aster.
Oh.
Not together. But aster, I know it's a bit to condition and separate. No, it was my daughter's birthday on the Monday that I flew in from Miami. So I arrive at the airport at 7:00 in the morning and think, oh, poo bumps, I have not ordered her any flowers. So I had to snuck into a supermarket. Sorry, dear listeners, but if there had been a florist shop open at 7:30 in the morning, I would have been there.
Yeah.
But I had to arrive. And I made this, I snuck into the garden and I raided my contorted hazel tree and my pittosporum bush. And I made this hand tie just of aster in pinks, purples and dark mauves. She just absolutely loved it. And it was so simple. And there's nothing that beats daffodils in the spring, to me, the harbinger of spring. Just simple daffodils.
That's perfect. I love it. Okay. What about the most overrated flower?
Oh God, if I say lily of the valley, that sounds awful. But I do think it's a bit
we get it. Yeah.
I do think it's a bit overrated, and it's become a bit sort of, I can think of far better things to spend £450 in a bouquet.
That's great. What is the scariest animal?
My rescue dog in a bad day.
What kind of dog is he?
I have two. I got two rescues from Hungary on the 1st of January 2023. And it was a bit like Tinder for dogs. I scrolled right. And so Teddy arrived on the 1st of January and Dora arrived on the 20th.
How do you know Tinder?
Hey, she's very hip.
Hey, I was curious.
I know lots of things.
I know.
I love it. That's
Wait
great.
for another day, or not for
a recorded day.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So anyway, no, those are probably, and they have been a challenge. But scariest animal? No, a pigeon, a seagull down.
When you're holding French fries or something.
Yeah. Seagulls are catching you.
Yeah.
That's the first seagull we ever got.
Going for seagull's a great answer. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
How to say no and ask for the right money. Can I have two?
Mm-hmm. That goes together. I like that. Negotiation.
Yeah.
Yes. Being able to charge the right money and not being upset when they say no and just walking away and saying, I'm worth it. Bye.
Yep.
That's great.
What kind of flowers would you like at your funeral?
Okay, I'm going to be really traditional, and in true English style, I have asked for every bizarre funeral tribute. So God's telephone, which is a telephone, God called and she answered.
Oh.
A bleeding heart, which is, I think you must have bleeding hearts in.
Yeah, we have them.
And gates of heaven. So
we have them too.
Because I'm hoping I am going to go to heaven.
Oh, you're there.
So it's and given that, if we're going to talk sustainability, they would all fail miserably on the sustainability, in which case just simple white arum lilies.
If you could have lunch with the TV, movie, or a celebrity or a historical figure, who would it be?
Oh my gosh, I'd want to meet them all. I'd love to meet George Clooney just to see if he really is as sexy as they say he is. Because I often think, you see people, I watched his latest movie, absolute rubbish with Julia Roberts.
Oh, I saw that one. Yeah, it was bad.
It was pants.
Yeah.
It was just useless. Well, we stopped
Rubbish.
watching it. But historical, Lord knows, so many interesting people. I'd have to have a complete dinner party. I mean, I'd want Winston Churchill. I'd actually like to meet Henry VIII and say, did you really want to marry all those women? I mean,
Invite us too.
perfect?
We're coming.
Yeah.
I like the
Party.
dinner
Loads
party.
and
That's
loads.
fun. That's a
Yeah.
fun game.
Who's
to
in your
play.
dinner
Who's
party?
at your dinner party?
Yeah.
That's fun. Okay, what about your go-to late night drunk food when you're after a night of drinking? What are you eating?
Oh, God. If I'm coming home on the tube, then I will stop off at McDonald's,
Yeah, yeah.
because sometimes that's all that will do.
It hits.
Otherwise, what would I go to? Well, I wouldn't. I'd just have a glass of milk and go to bed and rue it the next day. But
I just want to
or a
throw.
marmalade sandwich. Sorry, no, marmalade sandwich.
Oh.
That would be it.
I don't think I've
Paddington
ever
berry.
had one.
What flavor marmalade? Like any?
Oh no, orange. Now we only have orange marmalade.
Oh.
So marmalade is Paddington Bear only eats marmalade sandwiches, but I prefer it without peel.
Oh.
I never saw that movie, but that was like the highest
The movie,
rated
that's I
Rotten
have the
Tomatoes
books, too.
movie. Like,
Oh. Honestly, watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch
It is so brilliant. And I mean, Hugh Grant is
I love Hugh
fabulous.
Grant.
yeah, he's good.
He's at my dinner party.
He's at the.
I
dinner
heard he's an
party.
asshole though.
Maybe.
Oh, totally. But
Mickey Blue.
no, he
It's not
he has
asshole.
it
It's asshole.
Arsehole.
Arsehole.
Do you have a favorite favorite British curse word?
I'm going to be awfully puritanical and say I don't actually swear that much. I mean, I have been known to use the fish finger word when it's been really, really bad.
Fish finger.
Well, yes, because you couldn't possibly use the real word. I mean, that's just because I don't.
Yeah.
I have been known to use it.
We're not gonna make you say it. Don't worry. Okay. Last one. Could you suggest a future guest for the show?
Oh, that's a tough one because now I'd have to. No.
She's got to email that to you. Her Rolodex is huge.
That's fair.
Yes,
We're good
because
with that.
I wouldn't want to upset anybody.
She'll have to email that to you.
it's not-
I can't imagine how many cards are on Caroline's Rolodex. It must be. He must have several Rolodexes. It
She's
doesn't
got a
know.
Rolodex for her Rolodex.
Caroline, thanks for adding us to your box of cards. Thank you so much because this has been delightful.
Well, I hope it's been all right. I mean, I was a bit nervous.
One more
but-
question, Caroline. If anyone wants to
Yes,
reach
sir.
out to you, what is the best way for them to do that?
The easiest way, the best way is to email me. It's the one method that I cannot escape. So it's just caroline@purplespotted.com.
And what is your Instagram or
Florist Magazine on both Facebook and Insta, or Caroline Marshall Foster.
Is there a National Florist Day social media yet?
There is. National Florist Day is National Florist Day,
Okay.
and it's hello@nationalfloristday.com.
Go out and follow them. Make sure you're involved.
I was going to say, and I really, really thank you for being so supportive of the idea and forward to working with you on it next year.
Yes.
Same here.
Same.
Same here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been an absolute delight.
It's been our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joelle, bring
We've
us
been
home.
waiting a long time for this podcast.
Yeah.
Finally happened.
We got there.
We got there.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been an amazing episode of Two Fat Guys Talking Flowers. A whole lot of good, no bad at all. Ryan, Mimi, Caroline, Mike, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening for another episode. Have a great day.